Hey toy fans, D21 Beast Rob here, back with another Mega Bloks review for you guys, and today we're once again going boldly where no one has gone before. That's right, we've got the Star Trek 50th Anniversary Transporter Playset from Mega Bloks. This 321-piece set is obviously designed to recreate that classic room from Star Trek the original series. And it looks like Mega Bloks decided to have a little fun with this set, as the Kirk, Spock, and Scotty that we get are all variations of the standard versions of the characters. Kirk and Spock appear to be the mirror universe versions of those characters, while Scotty in the back has been decoed to look like he's in mid-transport. The back of the packaging gives us another detailed look at this playset, as well as showing off some other Star Trek Mega Bloks that were released in 2016. I've actually already done a review of the Guardian of Forever playset, so if you guys missed it, be sure to look for a link to that video in the description below. Alright toy fans, well that's the packaging. Let's get this set fully assembled and see what it's all about. Alright toy fans, here we have the transporter fully assembled and out of the packaging. Now this set came in an assortment of various bags, and the way Mega Bloks does, they weren't actually labeled at all, so it was a little tricky to get everything sorted out and put together. But it took me about an hour to do, and we get this fantastic recreation of the transporter set from the original Star Trek, the original series. I'm a big fan of this piece. There's a lot of attention to detail here. Some of my favorite parts are actually back here in the back, where we see the paneling for the back of the transporter. Those are actually thin plastic. You can see my shadow coming through. So if you guys are crafty with LEDs, you could probably make a really cool backlighting sort of construct for this piece and make it display really, really nicely. Now, on the side here, I've actually got the, portrait of space, or the picture of space that you actually saw on the original series. It's always funny with the Star Trek shows. They have windows showing space all the time, but anytime there's a painting or a picture, at least in the original series and the Next Generation, they put up a picture of space because I guess they just never got tired of looking at it. But then you get a little alcove over here to the side. This is kind of where the door typically would be for the transporter area. And then, of course, we get these great little minifigures. Let me pull Spock out of the way here. Oh, and I should mention the control panel. Let's get a close-up on that. The control panel for this transporter set looks just like it did on the actual series. All of those are printed pieces, which I really appreciate. No stickers here. They plug in very nicely, and of course this rotates, so you can just kind of change the angle whenever you want somebody posed to transport these guys around. And there's another reason that moves. We'll take a look at that in a second. Also, I guess I want to mention too, before we look at Spock, the transporter pads actually have the top of the transporter units there, so a nice touch there. They could have just left that completely open, but we get a little bit of detail, so I think that's pretty cool as well. But we'll take a look at Spock, the featured character from the front of the packaging. He's got a decent enough likeness to Leonard Nimoy for Mega Bloks standards. He's got great printing on the front of his torso. None of that, doesn't seem like it's going to scratch off or anything. He's got a sash, which is a nice touch. There are holes in the side of it, and we do get weapons for this guy. We've got a knife that we can actually stick in the sash if we want to. It doesn't hold very well, and I do notice that there is a hole in the handle, probably because this is reused from other Mega Bloks sets, and there's probably a character out there where you could just kind of plug the knife into the side. I wish it kind of would have worked like that for these guys, but not a major deal. We get the same range of articulation we're used to with Mega Bloks figures. The heads do look left and right. They look up very decently. They look down. Ball-jointed shoulders that move in and out from the body, ball-jointed elbows that roll around 360 degrees and bend forward and backwards, rotations here at the wrist, got forward rotation at the waist, the belt does not hinder that, a hip that'll move forward that far and move back, to a little past standing position, out from the body only about that far, single-jointed knee, and then there's no ankle articulation on these little guys. But again, when you're comparing these things to Lego minifigures, these guys really are just kind of the Cadillac of brick block minifigures, so I definitely appreciate Mega Bloks stepping up the game there. Alright, so we also have a Kirk, as you can see here. Again, a decent enough likeness to Captain Kirk, or rather, William Shatner. We can pull in the other William Shatner Mega Blok I have from the Guardian of Forever playset, and you can see that they are basically the exact same head sculpt, although it's worth noting that the mirror Kirk, the hair is painted a little bit lighter. And then, of course, he's got all the proper decoration there on his torso, all the same articulation that we saw with Spock, and then we have kind of a special figure here. I kind of like this, and I kind of don't. We get Scotty. He's in mid-transport. It is just a completely translucent minifigure with sort of a gold dry brushing applied to the entire sculpt. He does have his own knife. It's actually completely clear. No gold dry brushing on that, but a nice touch to have a matching accessory for this minifigure. And he's got all of the same articulation that we've seen before. Now, try as I might, if you look at the face there, I do actually think I see a decent likeness to James Doohan, perhaps even better than we saw with Leonard, Nimoy, and William Shatner over here to the side. It's just really hard to make out given the way that this guy's assembled. You actually get a Scotty, it's either with the bridge set, I think that's what it's with, is with the Mega Bloks bridge set. So when I finally pick up that set, because I will at some point, I can compare this Scotty to the other one and we can see how different they look. But there's no sort of painted detail for the ornamentation on his chest. It's just complete gold dry brushing to kind of suggest the transporter functionality. Alright, so getting those guys out of the way, let's take a look at one of the coolest things about this set. Of course, by itself, it's actually pretty cool, but you can actually open it and actually have a display for all of your Mega Bloks Star Trek minifigures. This middle piece actually comes out. You can just kind of set it to the side. The computer console off to the side, you can actually rotate. And as you can see here, you can fill this thing up with your Mega Bloks minifigures and have a pretty nice shelf display. I should go ahead and point out that there's only 5 transporter pads available once you have this transporter set opened in its display mode. So if you end up buying all of the Star Trek Mega Bloks sets that are currently available, you're not going to have enough transporter pads for all 7 of your main cast members. So you may have to get a bit creative when it comes to display. But Mega Bloks does also include an alternate display method. You've got your standard 3, in this case since we have 3 minifigures, transporter display pads just like we saw with the Guardians of Forever playset. These are of course gold versus the silver show accurate transporter pads that are actually part of the transporter itself. But if you don't want to use display stands and you want to just have the standard transporter, no worries. Just get everything out of the way here. This is really easy to go ahead and fold back into place. Everything just locks right back in and you can grab that center piece. It plugs in with 2 studs on the end. And now we've got our fully reassembled transporter set. A quick note for any of you continuity hounds that may be watching, Spock and Kirk of course are wearing their particular costumes from the episode Mirror Mirror of Star Trek the original series. What's wrong with this transporter? Well, it's lacking the Terran Empire logos in the back of the transporter wall. We actually do have those with this set. I chose to assemble my transporter playset without them since that was kind of a one-off appearance for the transporter room, and I like having the classic looking transporter set to be able to display my figures with. But if you want to, you can assemble this transporter set with these pieces and have that episode specific scene. So thanks Mega Bloks for including the option. Now, as we all know, Mega Bloks isn't the only company that's handled Star Trek in this sort of brick block minifigure form. Let's see how this playset stacks up with the Creo Star Trek line from back when Star Trek Into Darkness was in theaters. Creo minifigures are much more similar in size to Lego than say Mega Bloks are, so as you can see here, these guys actually scale fairly nicely, albeit on the short side, for this playset. Granted, there's all sorts of continuity errors with Keenser manning the transporter controls of the 1960s version of the Enterprise. But if you've got these Kelvin line minifigures, I'd say you can make it work. But what about Minimates? Delightfully and expectedly, Minimates scale perfectly with this transporter set. So if you happen to be a Minimates collector, this is a set you definitely want to get your hands on. Unless, of course, you only ever collected the original line of Star Trek Minimates from 2002. In that case, the larger form factor makes this playset a bit out of scale for those figures. Alright Toy fans, well that's my review of the Star Trek Mirror Mirror Transporter playset released by Mega Bloks in 2016. Overall, and let's get this out of the way, if you're not a Star Trek fan, this set's probably not for you. But if you're a fan of exploring the undiscovered country, and especially a fan of the original Star Trek from the 1960s, this set is a must-have for your collection. The only question is, how much do you want to pay for it? This set initially retailed for roughly $50 when it first released. I'm a big Star Trek fan, but even that was a bit rich for my blood. Naturally, your mileage may vary, but if you see it on sale, definitely pick it up. Well, thanks for watching this review, Toy fans. I hope you enjoyed it. You guys can always catch up with me on Twitter and Instagram at D21Beast, and until next time, live long and prosper.